Hello and welcome to chapter one continued. This is a very long chapter, but hey, we're here to make it out, right? We're cutting out like all the fluff. We're making it very, very direct here because the most important thing is to get the essence of the chapters. We're all about getting into the nitty gritty, and that's why we have the Billionaire Inner Circle. That is where we dive deeper into all of the readings, community, and most importantly, getting to know what was your favorite part, because that's truly amazing, right? And everybody has a different perspective. And the cool thing about it is having it sink in. That's the best part. So, without further ado, here we go again. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, chapter one continued. I have kept my promise. I've been teaching you from afar. My rich dad said, at 9 years old, you've gotten a taste of what it feels like to work for money. Just multiplying your last month by 50 years and you will have an idea of what most people spend their life doing. I don't understand, I said. Well, how do you feel about waiting in line to see me? Wants to get hired and wants to ask for money. Terrible, I said. If you choose to work for money, that is what life will be like, said Rich Dad. And how do you feel when Miss Martin dropped 3 dimes in your hand for 3 hours of work? I feel like it wasn't enough. It seemed like nothing. I was disappointed, I said. And that is how most employees feel when they look at their paychecks, especially after all the tax and other deductions that are taken out. At least you got 100%. You mean most workers don't get paid everything? I asked in amazement. Heavens, no, said Rich Dad. The government always takes its share first. How do they do that? I asked. Taxes, said Rich Dad. You're taxed when you earn. You're taxed when you spend. You're taxed when you save. You're taxed when you die. Why do people let the government do that to them? Well, the rich don't, said Rich Dad with a smile. The poor and the middle class do. I'll bet you that I earn more than your dad, and yet he pays more in taxes. How can that be? I asked. At my age, that made no sense to me. Why would someone let the government do that to them? Rich Dad rocked slowly and silently in his chair, just looking at me. Ready to learn? He asked. I nodded my head slowly. As I said, there's a lot to learn. Learning how to save money for you is a lifetime study. Most people go to college for 4 years and their education ends. I already know that my study of money will continue over my lifetime, simply because of the more I find out, I need to know. Most people never study the subject. They go to work, get their paycheck, balance their checkbooks, and that's it. Then they wonder why they have money problems. They think that more money will solve their problem and don't realize that it's their lack of financial education that's the real problem. So, my dad has tax problems because he doesn't understand money? I asked, extremely confused. Look, said Rich Dad, taxes are just one small section on learning how to save money and how to have money work for you. Today, I just wanted to find out if you still have the passion to learn about money. Most people don't. They want to go to school, learn a profession, have fun at their work, and earn lots of money. One day they wake up with big money problems, and then they can't stop working. That's the price of only knowing how to work for money instead of studying how to have money work for you. So, do you have the passion to learn? Asked Rich Dad. I nodded my head. Good, said Rich Dad. Now get back to work. This time I will pay you nothing. Ooh. Wait, what? What? I asked in amazement. You heard me. Nothing. You will work the same 3 hours every Saturday, but this time you will not be paid 10 cents per hour. You said you wanted to learn not to work for money, so I'm not gonna pay you anything. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I've already had this conversation with Mike. He's already working, dusting the stacking canned goods for free. You'd better hurry and get back there. Hey, wait, that's not fair, I shouted. You've got to pay me something. Well, you said you wanted to learn. If you don't learn this now, you'll grow up to be like the other two women and the older man sitting in the living room, working for money and hoping I don't fire them. Or like your dad, earning lots of money only to be in debt up to his eyeballs, hoping more money will solve the problem. If that's what you want, I'll go back to our original deal of 10 cents an hour. Or you can do what most adults do. Complain that there is not enough pay, quit, and go looking for another job. But what do? I asked. Rich Dad tapped me on the head. Use this, he said. If you use it well, you will soon thank me for giving you an opportunity, and you will grow into a rich man. I stood there, still not believing what a raw deal I was handed. I came to ask for a raise, and somehow I was instead working for nothing. Rich Dad tapped me on the head again and said, use this. Now get out of here and get back to work. Lesson number 1, the rich don't work for money. I didn't tell my poor dad I wasn't being paid. He wouldn't have understood. And I didn't want to try to explain something I didn't understand myself. For 3 more weeks, Mike and I worked 3 hours every Saturday for nothing. The work didn't bother me and the routine got easier, but it was the missed ball games and not being able to afford to buy a few comic books that got to me. Rich Dad stopped by at noon on the 3rd week. We heard his truck pull up in the parking lot and sputter when the engine was turned off. He entered the store and greeted Mrs. Martin with a hug. After finding out how things were going in the store, he reached into the ice cream freezer, pulled out 2 bars, paid for them, and signaled me and Mike. Let's go for a walk, boys. We crossed the street, dodging a few cars, and walked across a large grassy field where a few adults were playing softball. Sitting down at a lone picnic table, he handed Mike and me the treats. How's it going, boys? Okay, Mike said. I nodded in agreement. Learn anything yet? Rich Dad asked. Mike and I looked at each other, shrugged our shoulders, and shook our heads in unison. Avoiding one of life's biggest traps. Well, you boys had better start thinking. You're staring at one of life's biggest lessons. If you learn it, you'll enjoy a life of great freedom and security. If you don't, you'll wind up like Mrs. Martin and most of the people playing softball in this park. They work very hard for little money. clinging to the illusion of job security and looking forward to a 3-week vacation each year and maybe a skimpy pension after 45 years of service. If that excites you, I'll give you a raise to 25 cents an hour. But these are good, hardworking people. Are you making fun of them? I demanded. A smile came over Rich Dad's face. Mrs. Martin is like a mother to me. I would never be that cruel. I may sound unkind because I'm doing my best to point something out to the two of you. I want to expand your point of view so you can see something most people never have the benefit of seeing because their vision is too narrow. You see, most people never see the trap that they are in. Most people never see the trap that they are in. Mike and I sat there, uncertain of his message. He sounded cruel, yet we could sense he was trying to drive home a point. With a smile, Rich Dad said, "Doesn't that 25 cents an hour sound good? Doesn't it make your heart beat a little faster?" I shook my head, no, but it really did. 25 cents an hour would be big bucks to me. "Okay, I'll pay you $1 an hour," Rich Dad said with a sly grin. Now my heart started to race. My brain was screaming, "Take it, take it!" I could not believe what I was hearing. Still, I said nothing. Okay, $2 an hour. My little brain and heart nearly exploded. After all, it was 1956 and being paid $2 an hour would have made me the richest kid in the world. I couldn't believe earning that kind of money. I wanted to say yes. I wanted the deal. I could picture a new bicycle, new baseball glove, and the adoration of all my friends when I flashed some cash. On top of that, Jimmy and his friends could never call me poor again, but somehow my mouth stayed shut. The ice cream had melted and was running down my hand. Rich Dad was looking at two boys staring back at him, eyes wide open and brains empty. He was testing us, and he knew there was a part of our emotions that wanted to take the deal. He understood that every person is weak and needy, which is all part of their soul, which can also be bought. And he knew that every individual also had a part of their soul that was resilient and could never be bought. It was only a question of which one was stronger. All right. $5 an hour. Suddenly, I was silent. Something had changed. The offer was too big and ridiculous. Not many grown-ups in 1956 made more than that. But quickly, my temptation disappeared, and calm set in. Slowly, I turned to my left to look at Mike. He looked back at me. The part of my soul that was weak and needy was silenced. The part of me that had no price took over. I knew Mike had gotten to that point too. "Good," Rich Dad said softly. See, most people have a price. And they have a price because of human emotion named fear and greed. First, the fear of being without money motivates us to work hard. And then, once we get that paycheck, greed or desire starts us thinking about all the wonderful things money can buy. The pattern is then set. Dang, that whole paragraph is so good. He's like, what pattern? So their emotions control their brain, Mike said. That's correct, said Rich Dad. Instead of admitting the truth about how they feel, they react to their feelings and fail to think. They feel the fear, so they go to work, hoping that money will soothe the fear, but it doesn't. It continues to haunt them, and they return to work, hoping again that money will calm their fears. And again, it doesn't. Fear keeps them in this trap of working, earning money, hoping the fear will go away. But every day they get up, and the old fear wakes them up, along with waking up with them. For millions of people, that old fear keeps them awake all night, causing a night of turmoil and worry. So they get up and go to work, hoping that a paycheck will kill the fear gnawing at their soul. Money is running their lives, and they refuse to tell the truth about it. Money is in control of their emotions and their souls. Rich Dad sat quietly, letting his words sink in. Mike and I heard what he said, but didn't understand fully what he was talking about. I just knew that I often wondered why grown-ups hurried off to work. It didn't seem like much fun, and they never looked that happy, but something kept them going. Realizing we had absorbed as much as possible what he was talking about, Rich Dad said, I want you boys to avoid that trap. That is really what I want to teach you. Not just to be rich, because being rich does not solve the problem. It doesn't? I asked, surprised. No, it doesn't. So let me explain the other emotion. Desire. Some call it greed, but I prefer desire. It's perfectly normal to desire something better, prettier, more fun, or exciting. So people also work for money because of desire. They desire money for the joy they think it can buy, but the joy that money brings is often short-lived, and they soon need more money for more joy, more pleasure, more comfort, more security, so they keep working, thinking money will soothe their soul that are troubled by fear and desire. But money can't do that. Even rich people do this, Mike said. Rich people included, said Rich Dad. In fact, the reason many rich people are rich isn't because of desire, but because of fear. They believe that fear can eliminate the fear of being poor. So they amass tons of it, only to find the fear gets worse. Now they fear losing the money. I have friends who keep working even though they have plenty. I know people that have millions who are more afraid now than they were when they were poor. They're terrified of losing it all. The fears that drove them to get rich got worse. The weak and needy part of their soul is actually screaming louder. They don't want to lose the big houses, the cars, and high life has bought them. They worry about their friends. What would they say if they lost all their money? Many are emotionally desperate and neurotic, although they look rich and have more money. So is a poor man happier? I asked. No, I don't think so, replied Rich Dad. The avoidance of money is just as psychotic as being attached to money. That's a good line. The avoidance of money is just as psychotic as being attached to money. As if on cue, the town derelict went past our table, stopping by a large rubbish can and rummaging around in it. The three of us watched him with great interest, when before we probably would have just ignored him. Rich Dad pulled $1 out of his wallet and gestured to the older man. Seeing the money, the derelict came over immediately, took the bill, thanked Rich Dad profusely, and hurried off, ecstatic with his good fortune. He's not much different from most of my employees, said Rich Dad. I've met so many people who say, oh, I'm not interested in money, yet they'll work a job for 8 hours a day. That's a denial of truth. And they weren't interested in money, then why on earth are they working? That kind of thinking is probably more psychotic than a person who hoards money. I agree with Rich Dad so much on that one. It's like being on a sales call and they're like, it's all about the people, it's all about the passion, but it's not about the money. Although I want to charge 10 grand, you know? Anywho, that was strong. As I sat there listening to my Rich Dad, my mind flashed back to the countless times my own dad said, I'm not interested in money. He said those words often. He also covered himself by always saying, I work because I love my job. So what do we do? I asked. Now work for money until all traces of fear and greed are gone? No, that would be a waste of time, said Rich Dad. Emotions are what makes us human. The word emotion stands for energy in motion. Be truthful about your emotions and use your mind and emotions with your favor, not against yourself. Whoa, said Mike. Don't worry about what I just said. It will make more sense in years to come. Just be an observer, not a reactor to your emotions. Most people do not know that it's their emotions that are doing the thinking. Your emotions are your emotions, but you have to learn to do your own thinking. Can you give me an example? I asked. Sure, replied Rich Dad. When a person says, I need to find a job, it's most likely an emotion doing than the thinking. I need to find a job is an emotion doing the thinking. Fear of not having money generates that thought. But people do need money if they have bills, right? I said. Sure they do, smiled Rich Dad. All I'm saying is that it's fear that is all too often doing the thinking. I don't understand, said Mike. For example, said Rich Dad, if the fear of not having money arises, instead of immediately running out to get a job, they instead might ask themselves this question. Will a job be the best solution to this fear over the long run? In my opinion, the answer is no. A job is a really short-term solution to a long-term problem. But my dad is always saying, stay in school and get good grades so you can find a safe, secure job. I interjected, somewhat confused. Yes, I understand he says that, said Rich Dad, smiling. Most people recommend that. And it's a good path for most people. But people that make that recommendation primarily out of fear. You mean my dad says that because he's afraid? Yes, said Rich Dad. He's terrified that you won't earn enough money and won't be fit into society. Don't get me wrong, he loves you and wants the best for you. I too believe in education and a job are important, but it won't handle the fear. You see, the same fear that makes him get up in the morning to earn a few bucks in the fear is the fear that is causing him to be so fanatical about your going to school. So, what do you recommend? I asked. I want to teach you to master the power of money instead of being afraid of it. They don't teach that in school, and if you don't learn it, you become a slave to money. It was finally making sense to me. He wanted us to widen our views and to see what Mrs. Martins of the world couldn't see. He used examples that sounded cruel at the time, but I've never forgotten them. My vision widened that day, and I began to see the trap that lay ahead for most people. You see, we're all employees ultimately. We just work at different levels, said Rich Dad. I just want you boys to have a chance to avoid the trap caused by two emotions, fear and desire. Use them in your favor, not against you. That's what I want to teach you. I'm not interested in just teaching you how to make a pile of money. That won't handle the fear or the desire. If you don't handle the fear and the desire first, and you get rich, you'll only be a highly paid slave. Oof. Dang. That one was good. I'm not interested in teaching you how to make a pile of money. That won't handle the fear or the desire. If you don't handle the fear and desire first, you will get rich, but you will only be a highly paid slave. Damn. So strong. So, how do we avoid the trap? I asked. The main cause of poverty or financial struggle is the fear and ignorance, not the economy or the government or the rich. It's self-inflicted fear and ignorance that keeps people trapped. So you boys go to school and go get your college degrees, and I'll teach you how to stay out of the trap. The pieces of the puzzle were appearing. My highly educated dad had a great education and a great career, but the school never told him how to handle money or his fear of it. It became clear that I could learn different and important things from my two fathers. So you've been talking about the fear of not having money. How does a desire for money affect our thinking? Mike asked. How did you feel when I tempted you with a pay raise? Did you notice your desires rising? We nodded our heads. By not giving in to your emotions, you were able to delay your reactions and think. That is important. We will always have emotions of fear and greed. From here on in, it's imperative for you to use those emotions to your advantage. And for the long term, to not let your emotions control your thinking. Most people use fear and greed against themselves. That's the start of ignorance. Most people live their lives chasing paychecks, pay raises, and job security because of the emotions and desires of fear. Not really questioning whether those emotions-driven thoughts are leading them. It's just like the picture of a donkey dragging a cart with its owner, dangling a carrot just in front of its nose. The donkey's owner may be going where he wants to, but the donkey, chasing an illusion, is the one that's paying the price. Tomorrow, there will be another carrot for that donkey. You mean, the moment I picture a new baseball glove, candy, and toys, that's like carrot to a donkey? Mike asked. Yes. And as you get older, your toys get more expensive. A new car, a boat, and a big house to impress all of your friends, said Rich Dad with a smile. Fear pushes you out the door, and desire calls to you. That's the trap. So what's the answer? Mike asked. What intensifies fear and desire is ignorance. That is why people with lots of money often have more fear as they get richer. Money is the carrot, the illusion. If the donkey could see the whole picture, it might rethink its choice to chase the carrot. Rich Dad went on to explain that a human's life is struggle between ignorance and illumination. He explains that once a person stops searching for information and self-knowledge, ignorance sets in. The struggle is a moment-to-moment decision to learn, open, or close one's mind. Look, school is very important. You gotta go to school to learn a new skill or profession to become a contributing member of society. Every culture needs teachers, doctors, mechanics, artists, cooks, business people, police officers, firefighters, and soldiers. Schools train them so society can thrive and flourish, said Rich Dad. Unfortunately, for many people, school is the end, not the beginning. There was a long silence. Rich Dad was smiling. I didn't comprehend everything he said that day, but as with most great teachers, his words continued to teach me for years. I've been a little cruel today, said Rich Dad, but I want you to always remember this talk. I want you to always think of Mrs. Martin, and I want you to always remember that donkey. Never forget the fear and desire can lead you into life's biggest traps if you are not aware of them controlling your thinking. To spend your life living in fear, controlling, and never exploring your dreams is cruel. To work hard for money, thinking that it will buy you things that will make you happy is also very cruel. To wake up in the middle of the night terrified about paying bills is a horrible way to live. To live a life dictated by the size of a paycheck is not really living a life. Thinking that a job makes you secure is lying to yourself. That's cruel. And that's the trap I want you to avoid. I've seen how money runs people's life. Don't let that happen to you. Please don't let money run your life. Oh, that was a very deep paragraph. A softball rolled under our table. Rich Dad picked it up and threw it back. So what does ignorance have to do with greed and fear? I asked. Because it is ignorance about money that causes so much greed and fear, said Rich Dad. Let me give you some examples. A doctor wanting more money to better provide for his family raises his fees. By raising his fees, it makes healthcare more expensive for everyone. It hurts the poor people the most, so they have worse health than those with money. Because the doctors raise their fees, the attorneys raise their fees. Because the attorneys' fees have gone up, school teachers want a raise, which raises our taxes, and on and on and on. Soon there will be such a horrifying gap between the rich and the poor that the chaos will break out and another great civilization will collapse. History proves that great civilizations collapse when the gap between the have and have-nots is too great. Sadly, America is on that same course because we haven't learned from history. We only memorize historical dates and names, not the lesson. Aren't prices supposed to go up? I asked. In an educated society with a well-run government, prices should actually come down. Of course, that is often only true in theory. Prices go up of greed and fear caused by ignorance. If schools taught people about money, there would be more money and lower prices. But schools focus on teaching people to work for money, not how to harness money's power. But don't we have business schools, Mike asked? And haven't you encouraged me to go for my MBA? Yes, said Rich Dad, but all too often, business schools train employees to become sophisticated bean counters. Heaven forbid a bean counter takes over a business. All they do is look at the numbers, fire people, and kill the business. I know this because I hire bean counters. All they think about is cutting costs and raising prices, which cause more problems. Bean counting is important. I wish more people knew about it, but it too is not the whole picture, I added Rich Dad angrily. So Is there an answer? Asked Mike. Yes, said Rich Dad. Learn to use your emotions to think, not think with your emotions. When you boys master your emotions by agreeing to work for free, I knew there was hope. When you again resisted your emotions when I tempted you with more money, you were again learning to think in spite of being emotionally charged. That's the first step. Why is that so important? I asked. Well, that's up to you to find out. If you want to learn, I'll take you boys into a briar patch, a place almost everyone else avoids. If you go with me, you'll let go of the idea of working for money and instead learn to have money work for you. And what will we get if we go with you? What if we agree to learn from you? What will we get? I asked. The same thing Brer Rabbit got, said Rich Dad, referring to a classic children's story. Is there a briar patch? I asked. Yes, said Rich Dad. The briar patch is our fear and greed. Confronting fear, weaknesses, and neediness by choosing your own thoughts is the way out. Choosing our thoughts? Mike asked, puzzled. Yes, choosing what we think rather than reacting to our emotions. Instead of getting caught up and going to work instead of just getting up and going to work because not having the money to pay your bills is scaring you, to ask yourself, is working harder at this the best solution to this problem? Most people are too afraid and way too rationally. They think things through and instead run into the door to a job they hate. The tar baby is in control. That's what I mean by choosing your thoughts. Such a strong chapter. I'm going to end it here because we're going to continue on tomorrow. And most importantly, there's so much to learn from this chapter. Like, I'm a bit overwhelmed. If you don't control your thoughts, y'all, you'll be a trap and a highly paid slave. Do not be a highly paid slave. That was so strong. One of my favorite lines was the avoidance of money is just as psychotic as being attached to money. You know, there were so many golden nuggets. If you have your favorite one, put it in the comments, let us know. And most importantly, definitely check out the Billionaire Ret Inner Circle, where we dive deeper within all of this. In the PM, we have an amazing opportunity for you to get your personal freedom engaged. This is all about financial freedom, but in the PM, you are able to learn more on personal freedom. So make sure to tune in. Vanessa Black is the one reading the personal freedom, and it's just fire. Like, I know I was reading some really good stuff here, but if you want to really, dig into your soul and unleash the power within, check those out. So without further ado, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, share this with your grandma, let her know that she's not a Miss Martin, and most importantly, love you. Talk to you soon. Have a blessed day.